How you treat your body and yourself is so important right now. Hey, it's Heather Chauvin, wife, mother of 3 boys, former social worker, breadwinner, recovering hustler, and stage 4 cancer survivor. I'm not a fan of that term, by the way. Beyond all of these titles and labels, I'm a human being, just like you, attempting to navigate it all while feeling good. My goal on this podcast is to show you that you can live an energized, sustainable life, both at home and in your work. It doesn't matter if you stay at home full time, if you work from home, you're a CEO, a successful business owner, or trying to find some inspiration. On this show, I attempt to keep it real with stories, interviews, and random thoughts. This is not a business or career podcast, and it's not a parenting podcast. It's both and so much more. You will laugh. You may even cry, and you may even get a little frustrated with the truth you've been hiding from yourself. I believe all human behavior is a language, whether it's through your child's behavior, your health, or a relationship. And when we learn to listen instead of react, we begin to understand what it truly means to feel alive and in control. It's time to put your big girl pants on and find your brave. Let's go. Okay, ladies, I am back with another interview, and today I'm going to share the interview that I did with Tanja Shaw. Now, a little disclosure before we jump into today's interview. Tanja and I actually did this over 3 months ago. And it doesn't matter kind of the conversation of when you have it, but I went back and I listened to the podcast to make this introduction. And it was interesting because the conversations that we were having still pertain to today. And of course, the culture conversation has shifted about what's going on in the world. But I thought it was really relevant to how we are treating our bodies during this time. I have had a unique relationship with food and fitness for a very, very long time. And I also believe that what you resist will persist and grow bigger. I did not create that quote. That is not from me. I don't know who to give it credit to. But I know that what you resist will persist and grow bigger. And during this time, I've been seeing so many memes, which means I am starting to cut off my kind of social media intake, because there's so many conversations out there happening of expectations of who you need to be. And in the food world, it has gone from, let it go right now. Just do what you want. There's so much chaos out there. Don't be restrictive. Don't do this. Don't do that. And for someone like me who is already confused on what to do, meaning what should I eat? What shouldn't I eat? I have one belief around food. And I'm so excited to share this conversation with Tanja for that reason. And that belief is that food is medicine and it is fuel. And I believe now, more than ever, we need to realize that fueling our bodies is essential to feeling in control of our lives. So I'm curious if this conversation hits you differently than what it typically would. Because oftentimes those that say, I don't have time to eat, or, it's just not a priority for me, healthy eating, it's our lifestyle, we're so busy, I don't have enough time. Well, when we're gifted this time in this space and going, oh my gosh, what do I do now? We're looking at every aspect of our lives, the way that we're fueling ourselves, our mind, our body, and our soul. So I want to know your aha moment. Head on over to Instagram and find me at Heather Chauvin. It's Heather Chauvin _ and just simply share. Send me a DM, post it on the advertisement that I have for this episode. What was your biggest takeaway? Are you really taking time to pay attention to how you're treating yourself? Are you observing your emotional eating patterns? Are you jumping back on the bandwagon and simply saying, okay, I have to be in alignment with how I want to feel because look, I got to be on my game. My family needs me. I need to show up every day consistently. Let me know. I hope this is of service to you. And if it is, please share with somebody that you know will benefit from it as well. Okay, ladies, I'm so excited to invite Tanja to this conversation. Welcome, Tanja.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We actually just did this really cool thing, which I think everyone needs to do who wants to have conversations with amazing humans, is we interviewed each other. So you just interviewed me for your podcast, and now I'm interviewing you for my podcast, like back to back. But Tanja, I want to have this conversation around food and fitness. And, I'll introduce the concept with a little bit of my own journey, and the ladies talking, if they've been listening to the podcast for a while, they know that, a little bit about what my journey has been, but I do not personally identify, like my background is in social work, and my love and area of like focus and mastery has been in like pretty much the mindset, belief systems, all of that. But there's so much debate, and it's annoying AF when you want to get healthy, you make this decision, and all of a sudden you are bombarded, especially if it's, we're recording this at the end of 2019, you're bombarded with new year, how to lose 20 pounds in 10 minutes. And it's really fucking annoying. And there's so much around food and nutrition. And I was so excited to talk to you about just debunking this, making it easy. Like this does not need to be complicated. So Tanja, welcome to the show. And, why are you talking about this? Like what made you have these conversations on your podcast? And just a little bit about your background to introduce yourself to the community.
Yeah, thank you. And hello, everybody out there. So I started in the health and fitness industry because I loved exercise. To be perfectly honest, I loved how it felt. I loved moving my body. I loved the community that I built around my sport. I was doing mostly individual sports, and I loved all that. There was a few instances from the ages of 16 to 21 where in those times I lost weight. Either I was in love and I just sort of naturally stopped eating. I was very intentional. And once I actually went on, which is not super crazy, but I went on the isogenic diet, and they had this crazy 9-day cleanse where you pretty much fasted for the majority of the days and ate probably less than 300 calories a day, but I lost weight. And in that process, I loved the way I look, I felt, how my clothes felt when I was a smaller size. A lot of people's stories when they lose weight or their weight-related stories comes from this before and after of, I used to be 250 pounds, now I'm 150, I've lost all this weight, I've changed my life. For me, as soon as I started the path of the dieting and really falling in love with me being a certain size, I actually went the other way and I became very, very restrictive. And I became obsessive, and so much of my thought energy, my self-worth, my relationship with me and therefore other people came from how I measured, like, for example, that daily weigh-in where you get up in the morning, you pee, you take off all your clothes, and you stand naked on the scale in the morning to see whether or not you've been successful, whether or not you deserve to eat a lot today, whether or not you should go and do an extra workout. And it became all consuming. And this whole time I was starting to build my own health and wellness studio and my own wellness business. And I thought the answer to everyone's problems, their unhappiness, their weight-related issues was just to be found in a strict set of diet rules and food rules and high-intensity interval training and strength training, so on and so on, as science would tell you. But then I recognized that most people's struggles was not about the knowledge of nutrition. It was the relationship with themselves, the relationship with food, and how we interact with those two things. And just this constant fight against our bodies and fight against food in this pursuit of weight loss or this never-ending pursuit of perfection. And it's just exhausting. And for me, it went from being very obsessive to finding a more peaceful, balanced relationship with food. For some people, it is weight loss. For some people, it's weight gain. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But it's finding a place where everything is a lot more natural and food is really there for pleasure, to enjoy, but mostly for fuel so that we can really go and live our lives. Because I desire my clients to find wellness, to find that healthy relationship, but without the obsession, so that they can actually go and feel good in their bodies and go and live their life instead of wasting all of this thought and mental energy on, should I eat that? Is that food good for me? Or counting the calories, or having this mental tally of all the ways you screwed up, and the fact that you're going to go hard tomorrow and have a clean slate tomorrow or January 1st or Monday, etc. It's exhausting, and there's so much more to put our energy towards in life rather than just the food.
Oh man, this is amazing. The first thing you said that I could not let go of, and my kids are screaming in the background. We'll see how this goes. But this is real life. I'm not editing this out. The first thing you said that really stuck out for me was deserving. Deciding if I deserve to eat that day. I was like, oh, wow. I'm sure a lot of people really resonated with that. Pleasure and joy. Let's debunk this for a minute. So I know through my relationship with food, I've had to pay attention and watch, when people say eating for pleasure. Well, I want to enjoy. I have my thing is chips. I want to enjoy my chips. I deserve to eat these chips. But then I realized that it was actually me sabotaging my feelings of feeling good. So when I was taking care of myself, it was like, okay, 3 days fueling my body with food, not restricting, but eating how do I want to feel, right? We talk a lot about that. And I know I talked about that on your podcast of how do you want to feel, and kind of eating in alignment with that, and then feeling energized and great. And then I'd be like, I deserve a whole bag of chips. I deserve to binge on a whole bag of chips. But if you're going to tell me that eating for pleasure, is that not what I'm doing in that moment? What's happening?
Ooh, that is such a good question. I love it. Okay, so first of all, if you are on social media, you are going to be bombarded with so much dogmatic, conflicting advice from nutrition. And one thing that you might see sometimes is food is for fuel, and food is only for fuel, as if that food is not supposed to be an amazing source of pleasure in our life. And it absolutely is. It has been a part of our culture from a pleasure perspective for ever. I mean, even think just your very first meal was when you're coming out of the womb. You are probably so freaked out. I can't remember what it was like because it was a long time ago and I had no memory then. And then you get maybe a breast milk, or you're getting it's pleasureful, it's nurturing, it's emotional. So the fact that food should ever be just for fuel is complete nonsense. Food is an amazing source of pleasure, and so should it be. But here's the thing, is so much of our eating, Heather, is not pleasureful. So for example, the chips, the binging, if we were to sit down with a serving of chips and you were to really savor it, you're like, oh my gosh, these chips are the most amazing thing. You are shutting off distractions. You are paying attention to them. You are loving on them. You're probably going to enjoy them, and to a much smaller quantity than you would how we typically eat things. So often we say that we love food. We think about food. We want food. And yet when it actually comes time to eat, we are multitasking. We are clouded with so much shame or guilt or fear of the food. We eat in secret. Maybe we're just taking off, putting your kids' foods away and taking off little bits here and there. We're not fully present for our food. And when it comes to being healthy, one thing that I focus on first is our healthy relationship with food, not so much as to whether the food is quote unquote good or bad or, processed or whatever. And yes, there's a room for that too. But when you start by just trying to get as much pleasure out of the food that you are eating and you're really paying attention to it, you can pretty much eat anything and you're going to feel great because you're going to eat to the point where you're satiated. Now, there is the caveat of the whole foods. And like you said, the chips, for example, we like them. They do have this great sugar, fat, and salt combination that makes them really addictive, makes them sometimes want more. So it can be more challenging to do that with processed foods. But when you start there and you really pay attention to the food that you're eating and you do allow yourself that pleasure, you're going to get a lot of satisfaction from food. You're not going to have the same cravings and you're going to feel a lot better. And then when you also, in the whole intuitive eating process, when you start to just take out the limitations of the food that you're eating, like that food's bad, I can't have that. That food's not keto, I can't have that. That food's got meat in it, I can't have that. All these rules that we have for ourselves, and we become less restrictive and we just focus on, like I said, feeling good and the mindfulness, then naturally in time, depending on where you are in your journey and your relationship with food, you will naturally want to choose foods that make you feel good, not just in the moment, but also 2 hours from now, 24 hours now, or 2 days from now as well. And that's a natural process that can happen without the whole, like, I can't eat that or the whole restrictive nature.
I've started noticing that happening with me. I mean, my only downfall, it used to be not eating at all because I didn't prepare. So then I had to get in the mindset of preparing food. So I would just batch things like sweet potatoes, chicken, like green vegetables, having some avocados on hand. I got really bored of that food really quickly, but it was like, just start somewhere, right? So that if I'm working from home, I can grab things during lunch, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and have a balanced plate. But I had to sit with this discomfort of this belief that I had, which was so diet mentality focused. And I didn't grow up yo-yo dieting because I was the quote unquote skinny person. And I'm doing this with air quotes because just because you're skinny doesn't mean you're healthy. Like, hence the reason why I literally did not know what to eat. And then when I got to the point where I was like, shit, like I'm dying. Like I literally have stage 4 cancer. I need to nourish my body. What am I supposed to do? The habit I needed to create was actually eating. And I didn't even know I had an unhealthy relationship with food because everyone around me is like, why do you need to care about what you're eating? I was like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe that is the message that you are telling people today. Like, is that how unconscious we are walking around thinking about food? So I definitely absorbed that mindset of fuel, and can see now, like even when I'm traveling, picking healthier choices. Like when I'm, walking into the little markets and stuff, it's being more mindful of that. And it is more readily available and you can always grab snacks and things like that and just be mindful. It has taken a very long time to get out of the restrictive mindset and to kind of be easy on this belief of like, well, I need to take on less. I need to, whatever, because I need to lose the weight. I need to lose the weight. I need to lose the weight. That said, I want to go into a conversation about the number and if you know any science behind it, because I'm in a position, and I'll just put myself out there, where okay, so 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer, went through chemo, and then I got chemo skinny, as they call it. Some people do, some people don't, but I lost a lot of weight because I was dying and sick. And then I decided to run a marathon. So you're probably over there like laughing hysterically, like, what is this woman doing to her body, putting it through traumatic experience? But I decided I'm going to live my best life. And, you only live once. So now I'm going to run a marathon right after chemo, like literally 6 months after chemo. And then I still didn't even know how to fuel my body. So I was 125 and I started gaining weight rapidly. And now I'm around 150. I know that my body needs to let go of some weight. I eat relatively healthy. I'm sure I need to be more mindful of what's going into my body. I weight train 3 to 4 times a week. I exercise not excessively. I would say that it's definitely not excessive. And I'm also in the process of rebalancing my hormones. So, what do you think is happening to the body? And do you believe or know anything when it comes to how we will actually hold on to weight when our body does not feel safe?
Oh my gosh, that was exactly where I was hoping this one would go. Yes. So there is a lot going on. And the first thing I wanted to say, there's a lot. Oops, I just made a big noise there. A lot you went over there, and there's a lot of ways I can go with this question. And actually, I think there's quite a few different layers of this question to start with. One, I also want to address the number on the scale. It's really important to note that nobody knows how much you're supposed to weigh. And so often...
Okay, you need to repeat that, because have you ever seen those stupid, if you're this tall and this age, you need to weigh this much. So repeat that.
Nobody knows how much you're supposed to weigh, including you. So often we come up with this number, and I have clients who decide, I mean, and honestly, there's so many different contradictory thoughts, and different people are going to say different things. I fully believe that we don't know what you're supposed to believe, what you're supposed to weigh, and allow weight loss, if your body is going to lose weight, to be the natural consequence of you taking care of yourself and becoming healthier. For you in particular, there are a lot of things going on. It could be a hormonal thing, and that is a part of you focusing on your hormones, balancing your hormones is going to be part of you getting healthier. It may or may not result in weight loss. We don't really know, but the whole running marathons, the running marathon thing, a lot of women over the age of 40, when we start to have a harder time to lose weight, our body starts to hang on weight, which is very, very natural, because it's part of the process that when we go through perimenopause and menopause, the body's, it naturally wants to hang on to weight because it is hardwired to keep you alive and for survival. And there's a really good reason why it does that. But so many people decide that they want to start doing these crazy things, like, I shouldn't say crazy, but like more extreme things like running a marathon. And that, for depending on the person, can be a lot of stress on the body. And for someone who is already overworked, maybe not nourishing their body super well, not taking enough time for themselves, now they add on heavy cardio training, it just increases the body's stress state. And when the body is in a stress state, for most people, the natural consequence, the natural survival mechanism, you talk a lot about surviving because your body's always trying to do the best for you, is to hang on to weight, because we have never in our whole evolution had such an abundance of food. We've always been scared of famines, of not having enough food, not having enough nourishment. So the body's natural tendency to keep us alive, to keep us safe, to keep us thriving is weight gain and to hold on to weight. And like I said, the body doesn't know that now there's food 24 hours a day, anything that you want, anything you can have anytime. We don't have that anymore. So, or it's a little bit different now. So let the weight fall where it does by you taking good care of yourself. And we talked, Heather, before about focusing on the feeling. And if your feeling is, I want to feel energetic, I want to feel vibrant, I want to feel good in my body, I want to feel confident, what are the habits that you're going to do that's going to make you feel that way? It could be part of your workouts. It's fueling your body. You talk about focusing on the feeling and naturally getting to that place where you want to eat better quality foods. You want to eat more whole foods because it makes you actually feel good. Those are the kind of things that you want to focus on in terms of getting to that healthy weight for your body, your healthy, happy weight, where you don't have to weigh in every single morning and count every macronutrient or every morsel of food that you eat. You can have a more natural relationship and let the weight fall where it may. You did say something very specific there about when we don't feel safe in our body. And not feeling safe in our body is a stress mechanism. So when we don't feel safe, there is a little bit of a stress response. And that, just the way our bodies are designed, is going to be, for most people, is going to cause us to maintain weight or to hang on to some of our weight. And not feeling good in our bodies is a stress response. so often when I talk about stress, we think about things like sitting in traffic or work deadlines, or maybe a rocky relationship with your spouse, or that boss that stresses you out, or having 3 kids at home who are always wanting something or always needing you. We think about those things as stressors, but we don't always think about our own self-talk and the way we just treat ourselves. And so many of us are so hard on ourselves or so mean to ourselves that we're just carrying this sort of semi-stress state all the time because we can't just feel good in our bodies. And when it comes to feeling safe and just taking good care of yourself, that is one huge area that we definitely need to work on collectively as a population.
This is amazing. I think it's all that self-awareness, right? Like once you become aware, you see how, oh my gosh, this is so good. Once you become aware, you see how it's kind of like one thought or one way of being trickles into the other ways of being. And while you were talking, Tanja, I was thinking about, I'm always in this mindset, like, you know how people say, I'm sure you've heard this before, like focusing on myself is selfish, right? I'm taking away from my family. Self-care is selfish. But I think, okay, if you are focusing in a healthy way to improve your relationship with food, how is that going to positively influence other areas of maybe one of your clients' lives that has nothing to do with food or the way she looks?
100%. And Heather, I know you're on the same page with this, that we do feel it. We do might say it. Let's taking care of ourselves, taking time for ourselves is selfish. I mean, even amongst women, sometimes it's like, oh, there's someone who's, let's say someone's taking time to have a pedicure or hiring a babysitter so she can go to the spa, which is awesome. But then we're like, oh, like, wouldn't that be nice? Or we're so catty sometimes. And we need to, as human beings, we need to really just support other people as well on taking good care of themselves, because it is the least selfish thing you can do. Because when you take good care of yourself, you are such a better person, not just for yourself, but for the people around you. And when it comes to the relationship with food, I think the way I think of it is like you're living life, but there is this low-hanging cloud that's just always there. And it prevents you from just really engaging in life. Or you are at the sidelines looking at your family playing, looking at all the things happening, but you haven't jumped into your role. You haven't really lived that person you want to be because there is something holding you back. And for a lot of people, it is just the not feeling comfortable in their body, always thinking about the food rules, worrying about weight gain, worrying about what they're going to eat next or whether or not they should eat it next. It takes so much of our mental real estate when we could actually be doing things that are more purposeful, like spending time with our families and growing our businesses and learning a new language and traveling and all these other things. And that's the biggest thing. It is so, so worth it. And not only that, but you want to be a great role model for your family. And your kids are going to look at you. And if they see the mom who is taking good care of themselves, who is prioritizing their own self-care, feeding themselves well, exercising, doing the things, taking just rest to read a book or to do nothing. I mean, you want to be a good role model for your kids as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like people say we all have 24 hours in a day, or Oprah has 24 hours in a day. Maybe Oprah's not a good example because she's a Weight Watchers spokesperson, but we all have 24 hours in a day. We all have so much brain capacity and energy that we can utilize. So if I'm wasting 90% of my mental energy on food and thinking about food and thinking about how I look and thinking about my macros and thinking about, did I do the right exercise today? And like stressing about my physical, like the way I look, right? Rather than the way I feel. What I have done is stripped away that mental energy that I could put in the bank account of planning for my vision, planning for my future, creating deeper connections in my relationship. So I love how you made that connection. I think it's so, so important. And I also have to say, from a personal perspective, being, I guess, a passive consumer of somebody who, obviously went through a health crisis, but previous to that, being pretty open to personal development and never really connecting to this fitness industry and going, I don't care how many, if you have a 6-pack ab, 8-pack abs, I want to feel healthy. I want to feel alive. I want to feel good. And Tanja, I just have to say thank you. Thank you for being a leader and a trailblazer in this space, because it's needed. I think eventually everybody's going to get there, but there's a lot of bullshit that people are buying into and a lot of money that people are willingly wasting. And I know sometimes we have to work a little bit harder. Nope, I'm not going to say that. That's probably a belief. We don't have to work a little bit harder. The people come to us that are ready, but sometimes it takes a little while for people to realize that the mainstream message that they're learning about parenting, food, fitness, making money, business, health, relationships, is bullshit that they have bought into. So I want to say thank you for being the trailblazer and being real, raw, and honest with your approach, because it's not a quick fix. We have one life. We're in this body for many, many years, not just 6 weeks or 8 weeks to get those 6-pack abs. Yeah, you can have the abs, you can want them, but if you are angry and miserable and frustrated and hungry, what kind of life is that?
100%. And Heather, I just want to recap one thing that you just said that was so powerful is when you focus on how you want to feel, when you set yourself the goal for the day, let's just see how good I could feel, how energetic I could be, how good I could feel my body versus I got to lose 10 pounds. There is a feeling associated with that. And when it comes to motivation and inspiration, when you say things like, I want to see how good I can feel, I want to see how great, like what great care of myself I can take today, that is enough to fire you up. That will get you excited to go and do the things and go for the walk and go to the gym and eat the foods that are going to make you feel good, versus this area of like, I'm not enough and therefore I need to lose weight.
Yeah.
The end result will be likely the same, except for the first path is a lot more fun, it's a lot more exciting, and it is so much more sustainable versus the I need to lose the weight just so that I can accept myself, or I can, be worthy, be loved, whatever you're looking for.
Yeah, I like that. And for me, what you just gave me right here is, because I catch myself in that too. I'm like, I need to lose this weight, or I'm going to, balance my hormones so that then the weight will come off. And I'm like, no, that doesn't feel good. So after this conversation, my mantra, my reframe mental energy is, how can I feel lighter today? How can I feel lighter? And 9 out of 10 times, it's going to have nothing to do. Well, it will have to do with, the exercise and the food that I'm putting into my mouth. But most of the time, I guarantee you, it's not going to have anything to do with that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So Tanja, where can people find you? What's your podcast called, and what do you have going on in 2020?
Thank you. In 2020, oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. My podcast is called The Fit and Vibrant You. I've been at it for 5 years now almost, which has been fun and exciting, quite the journey. And to learn more about me or to get started, I do have a free course available at tanjashaw.com/free course, or just go to tanjashaw.com and you can find it there. It's on the diet rules actually worth following, so you can find your happy weight, so you can be comfortable in your body without the dieting, without the fighting against food, without the fighting against your body, and really start to become more peaceful and have that natural relationship with food in your body. So that is there. And for 2020, I have a goal of joyful, balanced growth, Right now, all my programs, everything I've created is ready to go. We've been doing them for a few years. It's been going really well. My goal for 2020 is to have fun with it and to keep growing.
I love this. It's like, let it be easy, right? Like, take the action, feel the feels, and keep going after your dreams, because staying stuck isn't going to change the world. So thank you, Tanja.